Joining us right now, and Kevin's been nice enough to join us every week this year on the Red Velvet Lounge, brought to you by Jiffy Lube. But it's a little bit of a special episode because it's the first time we've talked since he got the big ouchie. We're obviously, as Kings fans, all worried about him and hoping he's coming back soon. But who better to get it than from the horse's mouth himself, Kevin Huerter? Good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, I mean, good. I Jason will tell you I came in today limping because I think I slept wrong, and I think it's a sciatic thing. So honestly, you and I can talk as compatriots when it comes to injuries today. It's pretty much the same thing.
Oh yeah, basically. Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah,
my injury on a court, yours from sleeping.
Yeah. Same thing. Well, what is that? Well, first of all, is it torture to not play? I mean, you have such a good season going. You personally have a good season going, and then you don't know how long you're going to be out. But as you're just watching, is that a painful watch?
It is. I mean, especially for someone. I take pride in being available, playing every game I can to be healthy, to be out there with our guys. And there's a lot of guys on our team this year that have played almost every game. Harrison has played every game. So I want to be out there on the court with these guys, and the race we're in right now, trying to fight for seeding, fight for home court, big picture, fight to be in the playoffs. That's something I want to be out there every night. So in that sense, it was definitely tough not being out there, and just with how many games we had so quickly. Like I was out 4 or 5 days, and we had 3 games in that span. If you count the game that I got hurt in, that was 4 games. It just happens the way our schedule is going, the density that we're in. It not an ideal time to be out, but obviously it got to be smart and hope there's bigger things I need to be ready for.
I remember watching it live, and I don't know if you're the type of person that isn't going to go back and watch it. You lived it, but I know I speak for a lot of Kings fans. We saw it live, and just pit in my stomach dropped. It didn't look good at all. And then hearing, hey, we don't think there's any structural damage, and good news start coming out. But can you, if you don't mind, was it a pop? Was it just a weird angle? Like, did you think it was serious at all at first?
I didn't know. It was I think initially on the court, when it first happens, it's just a lot went on. I didn't feel a pop. It was more like cracking your knuckles, but it was in my knee when it happened, and just a weird, awkward play. It was I'm going to the basket. Next thing you know, I'm like, my legs for some reason aren't underneath me, and I'm on the floor at Barclays looking up. So just kind of a weird play. It all kind of happened so fast, and by the time I was able to walk off the court, I kind of knew walking back to the locker room, like, I think for the most part, any major injury was avoided. Like, I came away from that like, all right, this isn't a knee thing. It definitely feels tendon or muscular, and don't know what the severity is. But I remember just kind of walking off that court thinking, one, there was a chance, hey, I might be able to come back in this game, like looking up, hey, what's the time at? It's first quarter. But two, I think I trust in that moment, like, I don't feel like it's something bigger than maybe just a tendon or muscle or something going on.
So I know you practiced Thursday. That's a good sign. How close are you to making that return?
I'm getting close. Hopefully it'll be a game time decision. Going to go through all my workouts. Was able to practice the last couple of days, and again, just trying to be smart. To be honest, if this was a playoff series, I would have been playing a couple games ago. But it's not, and hopefully we have those games coming up that I don't need to be playing through pain. Obviously, you don't want to make this thing worse, so it's just finding the right rest time. Getting this right, and it's not all the way back, but it's it's at a point that we feel comfortable that I'm not going to cause any more harm by playing on it, and in some ways, your injury, mentally, you need to push an injury that you can't get worse, and that's what makes it better. So, continuing to build up, and been doing conditioning, full court running, and the next step is playing live and playing in games. And my rehab schedule on the road to getting back is going to continue over the next week or so.
I guess the question I'm sure you've asked or talked about with the staff that popped into my head, and probably everyone else's, is I'm assuming it's not a situation where if you rested 5 more days, you'd be 100%. Whereas if you come back, let's say tonight, you'll be 90% for the rest of the year. Or are they confident there's a decent enough chance you'll play your way back to 100%, so it's not bugging you the whole time?
Yeah, they don't think it's necessarily something that another week is going to get me to 100. I don't feel it. I have no awareness. Like there's no guarantee in that. For me, the only thing I need to know is it safe to play on? Do I have the strength in it? Do I have the pop in it? If I do, then okay, let's try to figure it out and get back out there with the guys.
And if I remember right, yeah, you said Barclays was Brooklyn. Your parents, your family was there. Was that? I mean, you never want to get hurt, but just kind of having them around. What did they say to you when they talk to you?
Yeah, that always sucks. You know, they don't get to see nearly as many games live now that I'm in Sacramento as they had in the past, just being in the Eastern Conference and going up to New York and Philly and Toronto and all those a little bit more often. So that kind of sucked. That was one of the first things I was thinking about when I went back in the locker room is, just there in the building. They were able to see it live. I had other friends and family that were also in the building. That is just unfortunate, obviously, but things are out of your control. You can't control it. And at the end of the day, they just want me to be healthy.
I'm curious, is there a mechanism in that situation? Are you too busy to worry about it? Or is there some sort of mechanism where you sneak somebody up to your parents during the game or after you're in the locker room to say, okay, he's fine, or it's not like a broken leg or something? Because I got to imagine it's also they're sitting there watching their kiddo hurting. They got to be worried sick. I know I would be.
Yeah, I mean, I was texting him pretty like right away. You go back in the locker room, you're in the training room, and after you get examined by team docs and trainers and that, you get your phone, and I was texting them, my agent. So they hear about it before everyone else does.
I don't know. I mean, you guys watch a ton of film. You play in the games, and there's in minutes where you're not playing, you're watching. But when you knew you weren't playing, you watch your team for those couple games. Did you learn anything different about your squad while you watched as a true non-participant, or is pretty much what you already knew?
Pretty much what we already knew. We watch so much film over the course of the season and continuously trying to get better through film work. So you watch yourself play all the time. It's just different. You don't obviously know the outcome. But I thought we looked good. Coming out of that road trip, that Utah game we would have liked to have, but you look at a road trip, you come away from it 3-1. I think we would have signed up for that going into the road trip. So they handled business. We had different guys step up. Seeing Kessler in the starting lineup was great. Just seeing how he continues to fit in, and different guys on our bench that were able to play well. And Keon Ellis was able to get in that first half in the Utah, and Delhi had some minutes in there. So it's nice seeing other guys being able to step up when you're out. But at the end of the day, I'm definitely ready to get back.
Kevin Huerter with us, Red Velvet Lounge, brought to you by Jiffy Lube. Does it make a difference? Is it tougher to be out in a close nail biter in Utah or in what ended up being a pretty tough, not a blowout, but definitely one of the more blowy outer games the Kings have experienced this year at home against Boston? Is there a difference for you?
You want to be in the close games. I think you learn more from being in the close games, and for us, we can get better. And you'll look specifically. I think we looked at that Milwaukee game at home, and we were super close in that. And all of a sudden, within a minute and a half span, we were down 9. Okay, let's go back. Let's see what went wrong. How can we get better? Similar to Utah, we had this big deficit, worked our way back all game. We had a lead in the fourth, and again, similarly, weren't able to close and can go back and look at, okay, what were the little details at the end of a game that we need to do better to win these games when it matters. And the Boston game was tough. To be honest, I think it was a little bit BS scheduling wise. You're on a road trip for a week, and I don't know if I've done that at this point in my career, to finish a road trip on a back-to-back, coming back in your own building to play. Right now, possibly the a top 2 or 3 team in the whole NBA, you got to come back in your home court and play them. So you don't make excuses, but scheduling wise, I think that was a little BS. I think it was similar to the Milwaukee game, having to come back from Phoenix before going on the long road trip. Just not ideal situations, and hopefully as Sacramento is continuously good over the next couple of years, we get a little bit better of a schedule. But that's a game for us. I think we had some tired legs. The same shots didn't fall. We didn't play as fast as we wanted to. And Boston played in Utah on Saturday. We played in Utah on Monday, and they sat in Sac for 2.5 days waiting for us. So they looked like the fresher team. They're ready to go. And we're coming off obviously a tough loss, a back-to-back, but also coming off of a week road trip that, I'm sure if we were to get them again, especially at home, where we're rested and maybe not mentally drained, I think it'd be a lot better of a game.
Well, Kevin, Dave and I every day do standings watch, magic numbers. You guys are so close, and you've earned it. You guys have earned the fact that you control your own destiny here with the way you guys have played. How much are you, the rest of the team, looking at really on a nightly basis? Denver, Memphis, who's the closest to you, Phoenix, who's behind you. How much are you checking out what those guys are doing?
Yeah, it's honestly it's close to every day. I think we're following what teams are winning and losing across the league. It's what is it? 13 through 4 is within 1 or 2 games of each other.
Yeah.
So it feels like everyone's just beating each other. So it's like every night the standings flip and this team jumps that team and this team falls out of the play-in. And so, at the end of the day, we're following that just like everyone else is. But we're just trying to win games too. I know that we got Memphis is now, I think, 2 games up on us, a game and a half, but we have a tiebreaker with them. Hopefully we take care of business here the rest of the way. We can put ourselves in a position to catch them again. But we're trying to win every game, and it's tough to put too much stock in what the rest of the league is doing right now, just because of how close everybody is. And every night, teams flip flop.
You said something around the All-Star break that stuck with me, that one of the cool things about going to the event is that your body is very at that high level. You guys are Ferraris and you have to keep in shape, in game shape throughout the season. So let's say you do play tonight, or you play tomorrow, or Monday, whatever it is. Is that something in this time off? I know you're working out, I know you're running around, I know all that, but does it normally take a little bit of time, do you think, to kick back into game shape? Or are you able to maintain that?
No, it definitely does. You can try to maintain it as much as you can. You can't replicate game reps, game speed, the pace that the NBA game is played at. And that is a big thing throughout your rehab process. Just for anybody with any injury, is there's a conditioning period where it's not fun, but you get on court conditioning, you're going up and down, and then you get off the court, and most times you're getting on a bike for 15 to 20 minutes doing extra, trying to save your legs. But it's always an adjustment. Your first couple games back from anything, to start a season, back from All-Star break, sometimes back from an injury. It always takes you a couple games to truly get back into game shape, get your legs back underneath you. And, especially the pace that we play at, it might take a little bit, but something I'm prepared for.
Kevin, when you're in Atlanta, you made the playoffs a couple times. You had that clinching moment. What, any significant memories you have from clinching playoff bursts in Atlanta, and what those celebrations were like?
Yeah, I mean, last year we clinched in a play-in game. So we were in Cleveland and won both of our games. We were able to get in and as an 8 seed. So that was a fun time in the locker room. Anytime you make a playoffs, it's that's your first goal at the start of any season for any team, is, hey, let's make the playoffs. And so right away you're happy to continuously be playing. Most of the league is, or I guess half the league is going on vacation. So as a team that gets to continue playing, that's always a great thing. But first 2 years didn't make the playoffs. There was a COVID year, and then I think my third year of the year we made a run. We were a 5 seed, so we must have clinched pretty early. And similar to what we're doing right now, is just you're kind of fighting for seeding for the last 10 games or so, trying to figure out who you're going to play. But it's different here. The drought is a little bit longer than it was in Atlanta. I think people are more excited about just purely getting into the playoffs, where as a team, we're looking at doing more than that. And it's going to be great. Hopefully we clinch at home. I don't know how it's going to shape up. It'd be great if we know going into the game, hey, if we win this game, we clinch, and there can be that reaction. Hopefully it's not something where we're in an off day and maybe a team who's sitting at 8th loses, and all of a sudden we're on Twitter like, hey, the Kings just clinched a playoff berth after 17 years. Like, you hope it happens differently than that. But I guess we'll find out.
Kevin Huerter with us as we wind down here. I've been waiting to talk to you because I want to ask you a question about refereeing. However, I've done this long enough to know that I don't want to get into your wallet. So I'm going to be very vague here. For example, the other night you had an issue in Dallas. They're protesting the game. You had issues on both sides where D'Angelo Russell was calling out a ref by name to the bench, and then the coach of the Suns was calling out a free throw disparity. I was actually looking at numbers today that somebody put out that really got me. there's a list of the differences between free throws taken by a team and the other team. And the team that leads the league and the most free throws taken compared to their opponents this year is the Lakers with 387 more free throws than the second place team, the Heat, at 184. As a matter of fact, the difference between the first place team and the second place team is bigger than the difference between the second place team and the 17th place team. What I'm trying to say is this. The media loves to talk about refs. Fans love to talk about refs. But in a general way, you're a player. Do you think this is a weird year for the refs? Do you guys even notice that much on the floor outside the moment-to-moment calls?
It is. I think it is a weird year. And in some ways, I think not that I feel bad for them, but there's definitely a lot of negative attention directed at refs this year. I think, especially at the end of games, I think there's been a lot of calls that have been missed at the end of games that players have had reactions to, and including myself, that have gone viral. So I think the refs are in a tough spot. It's interesting the way, I guess, the game is changing, the production of the NBA is changing, and refs are getting more face time. You're starting to learn the names of referees across the league. If a coach challenges a play on the TV, it cuts right to, and a ref gets their 10 seconds of FaceTime on television where people can learn who they are and figure out what crew chiefs there are. Where, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but 20, 25 years ago, did you know who Scott Foster was?
Nope.
He was another guy wearing a number on the court refereeing games. And so you couldn't call him out the same way. And, one thing I know that players are getting upset with really across the NBA is maybe the egos of some refs and making the game not about the game, and maybe about a personal vendetta or history that a player and a ref has had in the past or whatever. But it just feels like their personalities are coming out more. You're starting to figure out who they are, and so that's why I think this year it's gotten worse in terms of players calling them out. Now the public knows who they are. We know who they are. There's an accountability that comes with being a player in the NBA to do your job to the highest level, and you got to be able to produce and take results. And if you're not, you're going to get cut or waived or traded or all that. And so I think there just needs to be an accountability on both sides. And my old teammate Trey kind of had something on Instagram the other day, just same thing about accountability and how our refs truly judged. I know that there's a way that they grade referees, in the referee organization. I'm not sure what it's called, but there's a way that they grade them, and they look at each game and they continuously try to get better. And the best referees get playoff games and eventually get finals games. But, we never see or are involved in any of that process of, how do players, what do they think about this guy? Or how did we as players, or how did coaches think that this game was called? There's no collaboration there. And then we don't know what happens behind the scenes. You see a ref might, look at the Boston Laker game earlier in the year. LeBron James goes to the basket. He obviously gets fouled by Tatum. I think the refs, they admitted to it. There was a tweet about it. But what does that look like behind the scenes? Like, does that ref that missed the call, does he not get the next national TV game? Does he not get, or is it just like a slap in the wrist? Hey man, you missed that. Go on and move on to New York, and you got the Nets and Knicks on Wednesday. Like, for us, we don't know what that process is, which I think can be frustrating, just because from player side, if we're not doing our job, we're going to get cut, and everybody sees that. Oh, this guy wasn't good this year, he's gone. What is that process for the refs?
Would you as a player, because I've seen this floated, would you as a player want, through the Players Association, if there was a transparent grading process where you were able to, if you wanted to, go through stats much like fans do with you guys? Would that be helpful to you, or do you think that could be harmful?
I think mostly, honestly, probably harmful. I don't think there's many games that a player would give a ref a great passing grade. Like, if you were to look at the Boston game on, a couple nights ago. If all of a sudden there was a poll for 13 of us, grade the ref for this game, I bet you 12 of the 13 of us would say they were bad, and that's going to be for majority of the games is players are always going to think refs are horrible. That is for every sport at every level at any age. You think refs suck. So they have one of the toughest jobs in the league. Like, I can't imagine how hard it is to call an NBA game. So I'm not sure what the answer is. It's easier for me. I'm sitting here with a microphone complaining about it. I don't necessarily know how you fix it. There just feels like, from my side, like I said, I don't know what the accountability is. It just feels like there needs to be more.
Last thing for you, Kevin. How's your bracket?
It's not horrible actually. My Sweet 16 is looking pretty good. My Final Fours on a couple brackets are still looking pretty good. So I'm in the mix. I'll say that.
Okay. All right. Well, fingers crossed. Of course, brackets all just for fun. And we hope to see you tonight. Big game versus Phoenix, but we also want you to be healthy in the long run. So if we don't get to see you tonight, Saturday, Monday, whatever it is, I know you want to be in that game probably more than we want to see you in there. And man, do we want to see you back. So thanks for the time, and ice it up or heat it up, or I don't know, whatever you do to the thing to make it feel better.
A little bit of everything. A little bit of Mr. Miyagi.
Yes, a little bit. That's Kevin Huerter on the Kevin Huerter Show, brought to you by Jiffy Lube. We will be right back.